Welcome to our channel, where we bring you heartwarming stories that not only entertain but also inspire. If you enjoy tales of kindness, bravery and unexpected friendships, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an adventure. Today we have a special story that will remind you of the power of helping others, no matter how big or small they are. Now, sit back and enjoy the journey of the bear and the squirrel. Part 1. The Sleeping Bear. Once upon a time, deep in the heart of a lush and sprawling forest, there lived a mighty bear named Bruno. Bruno was the largest and most powerful animal in the forest, respected and feared by all the creatures who called it home. His thick brown fur glistened in the sun, and his massive paws could crush anything in their path. Every day he roamed the woods, hunting for food, but he never really interacted much with others. He was content in his own solitude, walking alone through the trees, his thunderous footsteps echoing in the distance. One sunny afternoon, after a long hunt, Bruno decided to take a break. He found a soft patch of grass beneath a tall oak tree and lay down, curling up into a comfortable ball. His breathing slowed, and soon he drifted into a deep, peaceful sleep. The forest around him was quiet, the only sound being the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. But just as Bruno was beginning to dream of his next great meal, something small and quick dashed across his path. It was a tiny squirrel named Sammy, known for his mischievous nature and playful spirit. Sammy had been leaping from tree to tree, racing with the wind, when he spotted Bruno sleeping beneath the oak tree. Sammy, always looking for new ways to entertain himself, thought it would be amusing to play on the bear. With a mischievous grin, Sammy scurried up the trunk of the oak tree, his tiny paws moving swiftly over the bark. He climbed higher and higher until he was just above the sleeping Bruno. Then, with all the energy of a young squirrel, Sammy leapt from the tree, landing squarely on Bruno's back. Bruno, startled by the sudden weight on his back, awoke with a loud growl. His massive eyes opened and he immediately realized what had happened. Sammy, not understanding the danger, squealed in excitement, thinking it was all part of a game. He began running up and down Bruno's back, hopping from one shoulder to the other. The bear's rage quickly built as he rose to his feet, shaking the earth beneath him with his roar. "What is this?" Bruno growled. "How dare you disturb my sleep?" Sammy froze, realizing that he had made a grave mistake. The bear's eyes were full of fury, and in an instant, Bruno had reached up and grabbed Sammy in his enormous paw. The squirrel struggled, trying to free himself, but the bear's grip was too strong. Sammy's heart pounded in his chest as he looked up at Bruno, his small body trembling. "Please, mighty bear," Sammy pleaded, his voice shaking. "I didn't mean to disturb you. Let me go, and I promise I'll never bother you again. I may be small, but I can help you someday if you ever need me." Bruno's anger softened for a moment as he looked at the tiny creature in his paw. He had never considered that such a small being could pose any threat. And though he was tempted to crush Sammy, something about the squirrel's plea intrigued him. "You think you can help me?" Bruno scoffed, raising an eyebrow. "How could you, a little creature like you, ever help someone as mighty as me?" "I don't know," Sammy responded, his voice filled with desperation. "But I promise if the time comes, I will find a way to repay you." "Air me." Bruno stared at Sammy for a long moment, his mind turning over the possibilities. Then, with a deep sigh, he lowered his paw and released the squirrel. "Go," he said gruffly, "but know this, little one, if I ever see you again, you will not be so lucky." Sammy, breathing a sigh of relief, quickly scampered off into the trees, disappearing into the forest. His heart still raced, but he was grateful for the bear's mercy. As he bounded through the branches, he couldn't help but wonder how he could ever repay the great bear for his life. Part 2. The Trap. Several weeks passed and Bruno continued his solitary life in the forest. The memory of the little squirrel and his promise to repay him slowly faded from his mind. The bear still roamed the woods, hunting and resting beneath the oak tree. One day, however, as he ventured deeper into the forest, he stumbled upon something he had never encountered before. A group of hunters, hoping to capture the mighty bear, had set up a trap. Hidden beneath the dense foliage, the trap was a large net, designed to ensnare anything that stepped into its path. The hunters, eager to catch Bruno, had camouflaged the trap well, but the bear's massive size was hard to conceal. Bruno, curious about a strange smell in the air, stepped cautiously toward the clearing. But as he crossed into the hunter's carefully planned trap, the rope sprang to life, catching his legs and pulling him into the net. The bear roared, thrashing and struggling to break free, but the net was too strong. No matter how much he fought, he couldn't escape. Part 3. The Squirrel's Promise. As Bruno struggled in the net, his mighty roars echoed through the forest. Every animal, from the smallest bird to the largest deer, could hear the desperate sound of the king of the forest trapped and in distress. Among the creatures, Sammy, the small squirrel who had once crossed paths with Bruno, was the first to recognize the sound. "That's Bruno," Sammy thought, his heart sinking. "He's in trouble." Without hesitation, Sammy darted through the trees, moving as fast as his little legs could carry him. He remembered the promise he had made to Bruno, the promise to help him if the time ever came. Now it seemed that the time had arrived. Sammy raced through the forest, his tiny heart beating with determination. He knew that although he was small, he could not stand by and let the bear who had once shown him kindness suffer. As he drew closer to the clearing where Bruno was trapped, Sammy could see the bear thrashing against the ropes, his massive body struggling helplessly. "Don't worry, my friend," Sammy called out as he approached. "I'm coming to help you." Bruno, in his panic and frustration, barely noticed the small squirrel. His vision was clouded with rage, and the heavy ropes around him made it impossible for him to see anything clearly. He continued to roar, trying to break free. Sammy, however, was quick and smart. He didn't try to fight the net head-on. He knew that would be futile. Instead, he scurried to the edge of the trap, looking for a way in. His sharp little teeth could cut through nearly anything, and that's exactly what he planned to do. With incredible agility, Sammy climbed up the edge of the net and began gnawing through the thick ropes. He worked quickly, his small, nimble teeth cutting through the strands with precision. Bruno, still trapped, felt the ropes loosening, but he couldn't understand what was happening. He was too focused on his own struggles to see that the little squirrel was the one working to save him. As the ropes weakened and loosened, Sammy's confidence grew. With each strand that he severed, the trap became looser. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Sammy bit through the last rope and the net fell away. Bruno was free. The great bear stood up slowly, stretching his aching muscles. He looked down at Sammy, who was standing below him, panting from the effort. You did it!" Bruno exclaimed, his voice full of surprise and gratitude. "You saved me, little squirrel. I didn't believe you when you said you could help, but now I see that you are more than just small and quick. You have great strength in your heart." Sammy, though exhausted, smiled up at the bear. "I promised, didn't I?" he said with a wink. "No one is too small to help, especially when friends are in need." Bruno nodded solemnly. He had learned a valuable lesson that day. While he had once underestimated the squirrel because of his size, he now understood that strength comes in many forms, and sometimes the smallest creatures can make the biggest difference. Part 4, A New Friendship. From that day on, Bruno and Sammy became inseparable. The mighty bear had always ruled the forest alone, but now he had a friend. A friend who had shown him that true strength was not just physical, but rooted in kindness, loyalty, and courage. The animals of the forest began to notice the change in Bruno. He no longer roamed the woods alone, and he no longer let his size define him. With Sammy by his side, the bear learned to appreciate the qualities of the smaller creatures in the forest. Together, they became a symbol of unexpected friendships, showing that no matter how different two beings might seem, they could always find common ground if they worked together. Sammy, on the other hand, no longer saw himself as just a tiny squirrel. He realized that no matter his size, he could achieve great things, and his courage and kindness made him stronger than he had ever imagined. Bruno, the mighty bear, had become not just his protector, but also his close friend. And so the forest became a place where all creatures, big and small, worked together, helped one another, and lived in harmony. Bruno and Sammy's story spread throughout the woods, and every animal, no matter how tiny, felt empowered to be brave, kind and helpful, knowing that even the smallest among them could make a difference. Part 5, the final test. One day, a new challenge arose in the forest. A fierce storm rolled in, with rain pouring down and winds howling through the trees. The animals of the forest sought shelter, but the storm was unlike any they had ever faced. Many of the smaller creatures, including the birds, were unable to find shelter from the relentless wind and rain. Bruno, being the largest and strongest animal in the forest, knew he had to help. But the storm was fierce and no one could find a safe place to stay. "Sammy, we need to do something," Bruno said, his voice full of concern. The squirrel, though small, had a bright idea. "We should guide the animals to the caves in the hills. They'll be safe there until the storm passes." "Yes, but how will we get them all there?" Bruno asked. Sammy smiled. "Leave it to me." Sammy scurried off into the storm, running from animal to animal, guiding them toward the caves. He worked tirelessly, his little body darting through the rain, making sure every creature had a safe place to go. Bruno helped by using his strength to clear fallen trees and create paths, all the while making sure no animal was left behind. Finally, after hours of work, every animal had made it safely to the caves and the storm began to subside. As the clouds parted and the sun began to shine again, Bruno and Sammy stood at the entrance of the cave, watching as the forest slowly returned to peace. "We did it, my friend," Bruno said, his voice full of pride. "Together," Sammy replied with a grin. "We make a great team, don't we?" And so, Bruno the bear and Sammy the squirrel became not only the best of friends, but also the heart and soul of the forest. The animals respected and admired them, not just for their strength, but for their compassion, loyalty and willingness to help others in need. The moral of the story was clear: no one is ever too small to make a difference. Whether you are big or small, strong or not, kindness and courage are what truly define a hero. And so the forest thrived, a place where every creature, big and small, could live in peace, knowing that together they were stronger than any storm. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of friendship and kindness. If you believe in the power of helping others, no matter their size, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more heartwarming stories like this. Until next time, remember, even the smallest among us can make a big difference.
This is the best ever!
Indeed it is, little one.